an interesting story like it looks from the trailer, and knowing that the production quality feels film level throughout is just so exciting.
I mean, I kind of expect it to be film level now. Like, you look at Andor, you look at Ahsoka, just like the quality that they're getting out of these Star Wars shows has always been top notch.
Yeah, it's
I'm
incredibly exciting. What we've got are the 4 subdivisions, which I
Yep.
will list out and then we'll explain them slightly. So we've got Marvel Spotlight,
hmm
we've got Marvel Television,
hmm
we've got Marvel Animation, and we've got Marvel Studios. Aurora Munro, aka Storm, first appeared in Giant Size X-Men #1 in April 1975. Give me something to tie me over, boss. I just need a little bit till the
Yeah.
weekend.
I kind of thought, I was like, oh, it's another squad. I was like, well, fantastic. Avengers of, I was like, Avengers is too boring. Fantastic Four would be cool, but I'm like, we're about to get the film. They're not going to want to muddy the waters there.
Hello and welcome to episode 116 of Cutscene Convos. We have got a very different and busy episode for you this week. We have got a character profile on Storm. We'll be previewing The Acolyte, the new show from Star Wars on Disney Plus, which is starting soon. We're also going to be breaking down and explaining Marvel's new branding scheme they've adopted, and then we'll be moving on to talk about what we'd like to see from these brandings. And then, as always, we'll have our Nerd News Network where we discuss the newest, nerdiest news. But for all that good stuff, Horizontal, how's your week been?
The week's been pretty good. It was obviously bank holiday weekend, so
It was.
extra day spent with a girlfriend. She obviously didn't have work. Pretty chill weekend. Got out, did some things. Went to cinema. Went and saw If, which was
I
that.
have not heard good things.
So it's almost, you kind of expect, oh, this might be quite a good, like, sort of comedy film. It's Ryan Reynolds. It's just straight up kids film. Like, straight up, just basic. It's fine. It's nothing amazing. The story is a bit, pretty straightforward.
Do you think it's a good enough kids film so that in 20 years people our age will be like, no, that film was fucking lit, and they do like a legacy sequel that is just full of
No.
adults? Well, then it's a failure.
I
Because if you
mean,
look at all of the kids films from our generation, they get a shitty legacy sequel announced, and we're all like, "I'll kick a child in the face to be ahead of them in line." That
yeah.
is the bar for a kids film now.
I mean, it's. I feel like they could have done a better job direction with the story, but it was okay. It wasn't really anything special. Definitely, like, compared to the week before, I went and watched Civil War. So,
Bit of a change.
Yeah. But hey, it was. We talked about it a while back when it got announced, because it was like, oh, it's Ryan Reynolds and John
Yeah, John
Krasinski.
Krasinski directing,
Yeah,
Ryan Reynolds starring. What could go wrong?
it's
A lot.
it's not terrible. It's just pretty basic. That's the thing. It's like, it's just a basic kids film. It's not anything special. So,
I think the big problem is the amount of money they spent on it.
oh yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
probably
not
that was
cheap.
probably all on CGI for
Yeah,
all the ifs.
yeah.
But yeah, other
Awesome.
than
I'm
that,
glad
just
you had a good
been,
bank holiday weekend.
yeah, and then just been doing. Oh well, spent today editing photos. That I was in a backlog, and then other than that, I've been playing like X-Define, and what else have I been playing? Oh, I'm back on Farm Sim again a bit.
Oh, I'm a farmer.
It's just a chill game, so especially with us playing X-Define, and it's like we're sweating. I need a game that I can just kind of mindlessly play.
Just plough your fields.
But how was your bank holiday in your week?
It was a busy one. So Saturday we hosted at the flat for the first time.
Oh,
Just my friend Lauren came round. Also our friend Lauren came round. We had pizza, we had some drinks, it was lovely.
nice.
Then Sunday Jenna was out at a bottomless brunch. So I streamed X Defiant for 6 hours, and for a ride, I discovered something about myself that I didn't know.
Okay.
DMCA free EDM music, kind of a vibe.
Well, yeah, you can't really go wrong with it.
I've never really listened to any kind of EDM. I shit you not, I was sat here for 6 hours listening to Harris Heller's EDM playlist, and I was vibing out. I was dropping 50 bombs. I could barely hear the game itself because you don't need to.
Yeah.
It was a vibe. It was one of the easiest 6-hour streams of my life.
Oh, we love that.
And then Monday, we were around at my parents' house for a barbecue and my mother's birthday. So that was nice. But this week's been a wild one. So obviously it's a short week, which you think would make it easier. Didn't. So round for a barbecue on Monday, back home Monday night, Tuesday, off to work. I'm training someone, so I go from sitting in my little room where I'm normally by myself to having to interact, make sure someone's taking information, I'm giving them the right amount of information. Back to my parents' house Tuesday evening because they were away for a gig so that I could dog sit. Up Wednesday morning to go to work to do more training. Back home, do all of the editing and stuff that I would normally do on a Monday or Tuesday evening. Then stream and go to bed.
Nice.
Then today, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, today.
That's how quickly the week's gone.
Yeah. Oh no, it's gone
today, and last day of the training, and get in, do my notes, which I'd barely started, cook dinner, and then be ready for this. I've never had a week disappear so quickly and also take so long at the same time. It's been wild.
I swear that's what always happens with bank holidays, though.
Yeah, I need to get better with not actually having fun on bank holiday Mondays and sticking to routine because they mess me up. But it was a very nice bank holiday weekend. My eldest brother was down because him and his partner were going to the concert with my mum and dad. So they were down for the barbecue on Monday as well. So it was nice to see them, catch up with them. But yeah, just absolute chaos week. I'm not falling asleep. I was feeling sleepy at work today. And I was like, oh, at least it's Friday. Wait, no, it isn't. But it's fine because tomorrow's a normal Friday. I'm out at another birthday party.
Oh,
dreadful
socializing.
It's not my socializing. I just get invited to places by people that I've met like 3 times, and apparently I have to go. I don't understand how it works.
I like how you're saying apparently I have to go, which means someone else made that decision.
I don't know what you mean. Anyway, let's get into our character profile, which is of course on Storm. Okay, so Aurora Munro, aka Storm, first appeared in Giant Size X-Men #1 in April 1975. Storm's mother, Nadir, was a princess of a Kenyan tribe, and her father was an American photojournalist, David Monroe. Storm was born in Manhattan, but her parents and her moved to Cairo in Egypt when she was very young, making it the only home she'd ever known. Tragedy struck shortly before her 5th birthday when her parents died as a result of a plane crash. She was orphaned, but taken in by local thieves, where she was taught to pickpocket to survive. She did this for a number of years and had a brief encounter with Charles Xavier while he was travelling the world, where she attempted to pick his pocket. He sensed her presence and sensed that she was a mutant, but decided that it was not the time or place to reveal that information to her when she might not know herself yet. Eventually, around late teens, I want to say, she got tired of the life of crime and decided to leave the city of Cairo, unsure of where she was heading. As she was crossing the desert alone and on the brink of death, her powers emerged. These powers would come in handy, as she would end up using them to save the life of T'Challa, the prince of African nation Wakanda. They would spend some time together, but T'Challa had to return to his princely duties, halting any romance between them for the time being. Eventually, she found herself in the Serengeti plains of Kenya, where her mother was from, and she was finally reunited with her tribe. She used her newfound powers to end a drought for them. This led to them treating her like a goddess and a saviour. This would last for a few years until Charles Xavier decided it was time to recruit this powerful mutant. Charles travelled to Africa and explained to Storm that these weren't magical or tribal powers, but a mutation, making her a mutant like him and the other X-Men. He then asked for her help in forming the second X-Men roster in order to save the originals. After the successful mission on the sentient island of Krakoa, she stayed on as part of the team and went on to form close bonds with characters such as Jean Grey and many others. After being on the team for a long time and learning lots about human-mutant relations, as well as the differences between her home in Africa and America, she used those skills to step up and become the leader of the X-Men in Cyclops' absence, where, despite her worries that she wasn't good enough, she proved herself to be a competent and formidable leader. Throughout numerous adventures, temporary power loss, love and loss, marriage and divorce, Storm has remained a reliable and caring member of the X-Men team and has always done whatever she can to help Charles Xavier's dream of human-mutant coexistence come to pass. She has ruled powerfully in numerous places, including as the Queen of Wakanda alongside T'Challa, and also on the Secret Mutant Council on Krakoa. Storm is, I believe, an Omega level mutant, and she is awesome.
Yes, she is.
Which is why she made it into my roster.
Didn't know about her and Black Panther.
Yes. Famously married for a number of years. They are currently divorced, I believe.
Oh.
And she also has a great disliking of Spider-Man.
Oh.
It doesn't come from nowhere. There's been a couple of instances over the years where he's had like some very serious foot in mouth when like in real bad situations, and also a couple of fights between Spider-Man and the X-Men. She's just kind of like, I don't particularly like you.
Fair.
But it's fun because I think in a world where everyone kind of likes Spider-Man, well, not in the Marvel
Yeah,
world,
yeah.
but with us all liking Spider-Man, having an equally popular character kind of be like, no, I'm not really a fan, I think is kind of a good
Makes it more
juxtaposition.
interesting.
Exactly. I love Storm. That's why I couldn't leave her off my roster.
Storm is very cool.
Awesome character. Some really cool characterizations of her, and she's been around for so long now. She feels like the blueprint of writing a strong female character that even incels can't really take down. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love her so much. She's the best. Talking of things that look like they might be the best and I want to love.
Things that I am very excited for.
This show, man. I've seen some of the people who get proper preview rights, not us mere mortals.
Scouring.
And all I'm seeing is the show's phenomenal, the story's really good, and it is film production quality Star Wars. Which, an interesting story like it looks from the trailer, and knowing that the production quality feels film level throughout is just so exciting.
Well, I mean, I kind of expect it to be film level now. Like, you look at Andor, you look at Ahsoka, just like the quality that they're getting out of these Star Wars shows has always been top notch.
Yeah, it's
I'm
incredibly exciting.
Very excited for the story. We've got it confirmed that it's 8 episodes, all about half an hour-ish each, which probably means some will be a bit longer, some might be shorter.
Yeah.
There's obviously this is our first kind of dabble into an era of Star Wars that isn't the Skywalker era.
Yeah.
Which is actually going to be very interesting to see how the fans receive it, because this is like new territory.
Yeah.
I've seen some reveals of things. I don't know if you've seen it about certain lightsabers, but there has been a reveal. There is a purple lightsaber whip on one character.
I saw the trailer of the lightsaber whip. It's lit.
Very unique item.
Yeah.
which obviously a lot of fans got very excited for. Apparently, I should have done more research on this, but apparently there is a certain Jedi character that used a purple one, so potentially could be that character. But also, like back then, they were, from what I understand, they were a, not a widely used item by the Jedi, but they used them because they found out it was strong against Sith. Some of the forbidden forms that the Sith use. But obviously, like it died off being needed as we went into like the Skywalker era. Um,
I'm very, very excited for this show. The story being this kind of almost murder mystery of Jedi's are dying. How?
mm,
And like, yeah, we know there's some red and some like dark force use about, but we don't know if they're Sith. Or I know we discussed the potential of them being like cultists who just dislike the way the Jedi use the Force, so they're trying to like get rid of them. There's some brilliant actors. It looks amazing. I can't see like it's Star Wars, which is enough to get me interested,
mm,
but also it's such a different style of story in the Star Wars world that I'm allowed to just kind of sit there and be like, I am expecting nothing from you, really. Just I'm willing to accept whatever you give
mm-hmm.
me and see if I like that thing, which is really refreshing from a big franchise. It's difficult to do in a big franchise.
Yeah, and I think, like you say, we're getting it from obviously the perspective of the Jedi are like in their golden era, and then suddenly they're being attacked, and it's like this side of things where even when we saw the Jedi in the Skywalker era of being like, oh, there's a dark force at play here, we're trying to figure it out. Like they knew of those things. This is where like there's been no evil. We're like all good, we're rocking, and then suddenly it's like, wait, what? We're dying? Who the fuck's killing us? And
Yeah.
this idea of getting it from that perspective is gonna be a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, and also the cast is
Yeah, it
stacked
looks
with people
great.
who, yeah, we've got I forget the lady's name, Carrie Ann Moss, who of course played Trinity in The Matrix.
Mm,
We've got Lee Yang Jae, who I believe also has, yeah, he was in Squid Game. He's he's a phenomenal actor. I'm looking at this cast and I'm like, we've got a good mix of names and faces that I recognize, and then a good
mhm.
mix of names and faces that I don't know. And I'm like, this is where Star Wars is at
Yep.
its best.
Um,
I'm so excited.
the Star Wars lightsaber fight nerd in me is excited for the possibility, as this is like the high days of Jedi. They have to go like pop off with the fights because they should all be like peak like ability for duels.
Yeah, they're training against the best constantly. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we might get some incredible fight scenes in
Well,
this
we
show.
already saw in one of the trailers, didn't we? Them using the Force to like stop a blade, which
Yes.
has become popular recently in like additional content. So they
Yeah.
get to go back to an era where they're like, yeah, there was enough people that someone would work this out, so we can
Well,
use
yeah,
that.
there's enough of them that got powerful enough to understand that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's,
So it's very, very exciting.
they could have a
We're
lot
gonna
of
see
fun
some
with it.
cool action.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
also we don't get a lot of like suspenseful, intense, almost bordering on horror in Star Wars.
Mm,
Um, they have the opportunity with this to do a little bit more of that, with the kind of
yeah.
investigation of what's going on, going into these places which are a little bit eerie
Mm,
before something happens. They can play around with this a little bit, especially because, yes, we know the Jedi had a bit of an ego, but that was more as a unit. Individual Jedis are still going to be nervous about the fact that Jedis are dropping dead, and you
well,
can
yeah.
kind of play around with that.
Especially because like the Sith as a being and a force or whatever is very creepy in those places. And if you're like, these are like, imagine maybe the story goes like they go to one of these places looking for stuff and unknowingly are walking into like a Sith area. They like you could make that very horror esque and really
Yeah,
play into it, and they're not going to know or understand, and they like you could have a lot of fun with it, like you say.
absolutely. We've got some really good opportunities for Star Wars to move into some new ground here. It
Mm-hmm.
won't be for everyone. I'm sure we will unfortunately get a lot of people who are like, it's not Star Wars, just do A New Hope again.
Yeah.
But I, for one, am very excited. Again, this kind of feels like it'll also kind of sit in that middle ground between like the political side of Andor and the mysticism side of Ahsoka. I feel like that's going to
Yeah.
have a little bit of both sides in there,
I think
and
it
I
could.
think that could actually be one of its biggest selling points because it's not often we get to see the political side of Star Wars directly alongside the mystical side so often. And
Yeah.
I've got a feeling we could get a bit of that.
Yeah, potentially. Marvel.
So, yes. Marvel have been very gingerly, I think is the word I'll use, revealing their new branding over the last kind of 6 months
Well,
to a year.
yeah, it's sort of been like this thing where we kind of still refer to it all as the MCU because that's kind of what we know. But it's actually slowly they've actually split it now. There is more than just the MCU. I think a lot of
Yes.
people don't realize that they have split themselves into these 4 categories.
Yeah.
So we
Because,
felt we should talk about
yeah, they didn't. I think the weirdest bit about it is they didn't at an event just announce we're now these four things.
that. No.
They just kind of announced them if and when they happen.
Yeah, which kind of has actually worked. Like it started off with the Marvel animation
I
spotlight.
Spotlight came first.
Oh, okay. But yeah, okay. So they did spotlight, and everyone was like, "Oh, what's this?" Then they did the animation. Like, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
it's, and then they've slowly like when they've needed to categorize something like under that, it's like okay, they come up with a new branding.
Yeah. It seems like they've realised what they were doing before isn't working now. It got a bit messy. So they've kind of gone, how do we restructure this in a way that makes it easy for people to find what they want instead of intimidating people and scaring them away?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a like you say, they got kind of caught in the trap of like we are the MCU. Everything's under this MCU banner. So then they were like, well, everything needs to tie together. People need to know everything. And like you say, got a bit messy. And I think they realized, okay, well, if we brand these out, it makes it clearer for what is what to the viewers. And then people might not feel like, oh, I've got 10 million things I need to watch for the next MCU film.
Yeah. Because despite the fact that we love it, it can be stressful at times.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So people who don't love it as much as us would definitely go, yeah, I can't be asked.
Hmm.
I mean, I had IRL friends who like we were booking out cinema seats together. We were organising midnight showings for Marvel films. Endgame hit, and they've not even mentioned Marvel since.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, even like people in my family, like my sister and stuff, had watched up to Endgame, and then there just was becoming so many different shows and stuff that you kind of
Yeah,
needed to watch. It got complicated.
yeah. So what we've got are the four subdivisions, which I
Yep.
will list out and then we'll explain them slightly. So we've got Marvel Spotlight,
Hmm.
we've got Marvel Television,
Hmm.
we've got Marvel Animation, and we've got Marvel Studios.
Yep.
So Marvel Spotlight is the one that was announced first and made the most sense at the time and felt like it was its own thing the most. So Marvel Spotlight is bonus stuff for people who want more MCU stuff.
Hmm.
It is, as far as we know, currently all set in the MCU, but it is not important for the overall story. It
Hmm.
is purely very small ground level character driven stuff for lesser known characters
Yep.
like Echo.
Hmm.
Wonder Man has been confirmed that his series is going to be a Marvel Spotlight project. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. It's going to be smaller projects that you can watch if you want to, but if you miss, shouldn't matter.
Correct.
Then we've got Marvel Television. Again, currently this is only MCU stuff, but I don't know if it's planning on staying that way.
Right.
MCU shows that are more important and might affect the overall story direction,
Hmm.
but they're hoping to not make them dominant in needing to watch them. They're trying to find a kind of medium spot between spotlight and must watch, which is where they seem to want television to exist.
Yeah.
they want it to feel like when you're watching it, it is progressing the main universal story,
Yeah.
but they don't want to punish people who don't watch it.
Yeah, they want to make sure it's stuff that's going to feel strongly tied into what's currently going on, but not necessarily like pivotal to the big main
Yes.
story.
Which I think is going to be very difficult to pull off, and I'm curious to see like what the first thing we get under that is.
Isn't it Daredevil?
I believe if the timetable doesn't change, that is what we're expecting the first to be.
Hmm. And obviously, I presume Loki and some of the Moon Knight and that stuff is going to get categorized under Marvel TV, even though it's already come out.
I assume so. Moon Knight would probably go under Spotlight.
Possibly, I suppose it depends how they want to use them going forward.
Yeah. Then we've got Marvel Animation, which is the easiest one.
Yep.
It is animated shows currently. I
Mhm.
don't believe they've said anything about doing any animated films. So I believe it's just animated shows for now. It has been described by people working on it as the Wild West. You can kind of do whatever you want. It sounds like that's where a lot of the creative stuff is going to be able to happen.
Mhm.
As kind of what we've seen with Sony and their animated department. The big people who make money decisions tend not to care, which allows the creative people to do cool shit.
Yeah, you just got to make sure you don't go too high on budget because then
Yeah.
they'll pay attention.
Yeah. Currently, nothing from the animated division is going to be set in the MCU, but the door is not closed on that.
No.
It is just there is nothing they're planning on currently is set in the MCU. So stuff like that is going to be What If,
Yep.
X-Men 97 future seasons, Spider-Man.
Yep.
Oh no, what's it called now? Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah. Whichever it
Yeah.
is.
and any other animated projects. I believe
Mhm.
we're still waiting for Marvel Zombies. That will come under that. I really like their branding for that as well. The vibrant yellow gives animation
I think
very
it's because
aggressively.
The X-Men obviously use that, and we just have that like strong core memory of Yellow being like animated.
X-Men 97 being the first thing officially under that banner was a stroke of genius, whether they realised it or not.
Oh yeah.
And then Marvel Studios is what it has always been. That's films only.
Mm-hmm.
And currently it is just MCU films. But if they are feeling crazy and they want to do films outside the MCU, which I don't think right now is a great idea, that is where they would currently sit. I think if they wanted to do films outside the MCU, they would probably spin up another brand for that, like
That or
Marvel X, Marvel Cutscene Combos.
yeah, I somehow don't think they're gonna stray from the MCU anytime soon.
No, I think we're getting a soft reboot in the next 5 years. Bookmark it. But
Possibly.
it will still be the MCU, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah.
It'll be the one universe the studios focus on. And that is the 4 new divisions of Marvel's live action content, I guess you could call it, or just video content.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess you would class it as video or media, like Marvel's
Yeah.
media. Yeah.
It's interesting that these 4 brackets all do come under like film, TV, when obviously Marvel still have a game department and a comic department, and are we potentially seeing a wider restructure? We don't know if this is the end of the updates to their branding because they've been doing it so slowly. For all we know, we're going to get a brand new Marvel games and a brand new Marvel comics. So there's 6 subcategories, and there might be crossover between them. I don't know.
I imagine the only other thing that might get added into this like structure would be maybe Marvel games. I think they don't mess with Marvel comics. Like people know. It's the only other thing that will kind of I see these 4 things as being like Marvel entertainment.
Yeah.
And it's like games could be put under that if they want to make that its own thing, but I guess we'll wait and see with that.
Because, yeah, we know Disney as a larger company are making a push back into gaming, and Marvel games are definitely making a push with obviously Marvel Rivals. We've got the Black Panther and Captain America game. and there's a couple of other ones that I'm forgetting that have been rumored and are in the works. So there is definitely a push on all fronts happening from Marvel right now.
Now, I will say one thing about this branding, as this is just me being the creative person. It bothers me so much that the Marvel Spotlights logo is completely different to the other three. Because like
but
all
that's
of the
also
others,
kind of the point, isn't it?
Yeah, but you could. It's like you've got all of them are the Marvel in a box, whatever it is under the two lines, various colors. Like Marvel Animation, I think they've shown it mainly as yellow, but they probably have done it in other colors. TV's just been basically the same, and then obviously Marvel's. But then Spotlight's like completely different font, weird. Like you could do something closer to the other three. But it's just the good designer in me that's like, this is so different and it's annoying.
But is it not also kind of to show without having to understand the words to a layman that this is completely different? Marvel Spotlight is completely different.
Yeah, but it's still tied in slightly.
TV and studios.
Like if
I
it
know,
was,
but they are very different stories.
Yeah, I'm just it's
maybe there was a better way for them to do it.
Maybe it'll change. Maybe because we've only seen it once, it could still evolve.
Yeah, exactly. We might get Marvel Spotlight Television Animation Studios. Who knows? So let's get on to what we would like to see from these.
Yes, some like wishes or predictions, however you want to put it.
So, I assume we're just sticking with stuff that hasn't been kind of rumored / announced that's being worked on in the background.
I've tried to, yes. Some of my like wishes sort of kind of tie in with potentially what we might get, but it'd be like, yeah, you'll get it.
Okay.
What do we want to start
us off with one of your spotlight ideas? Or whatever idea you're most popular, like you're most desperate for?
Ooh.
Someone from Marvel's listening right now, they're going to take your next idea. What is it?
If they want my next idea?
Yeah.
I feel I don't... Okay, well, that'd be a cinematic thing, but I don't want to do cinematic yet. So we'll do animated.
Okay.
Because we're loving animation at the moment.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of wishes or ideas for what could be another animated series. Because we know we've got, obviously, X-Men 97. We've got Spider-Man coming. So it's like, what works in that realm? Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
Would be a good... I feel like it'd be a good time. Because like the current MCU one, we know is kind of now on the like shelved sort of status.
Yeah.
They finished their little trilogy. They're not immediately going to be like having their own film or anything. Could be a good time to do like an animated show, whether it's the exact same characters or if it's slightly different squad. Maybe could be from another universe.
More of like an OG squad.
Possibly. I just think Guardians of the Galaxy would be a really we saw, like, considering how we saw the X-Men 97 like fights and how they were very creative with their use of powers and stuff. It's like what would be an interesting squad that gives a lot of freedom and fun there, and I think Guardians could be that.
I like that. That's a different but very interesting shout for sure.
Go on. Okay. What's your animated pick?
Animated. So I'm debating between two.
Okay.
And I don't think either of them are going to be particularly revolutionary, but I want them, goddammit.
Okay.
I would love either a Daredevil animated series. I know a lot of people are saying like a continuation from like the 90s Daredevil. I'm okay for it to be like brand new style. I just would like a Daredevil series. I think animation's such a good medium for Daredevil.
Yeah.
And this one I'm less sure of, purely because the film is so like being worked on. And I think it might be a case of, I want something and I want it now and I don't want to wait.
I know what this is.
A Fantastic Four cartoon. I think that is more just because I'm like, I want this Fantastic Four film. So I'm like, give me something to tie me over, boss. I just need a little bit till the weekend.
I kind of thought, I was like, it's another squad. I was like, well, Avengers is too boring. Fantastic Four would be cool, but I'm like, we're about to get the film. They're not going to want to muddy the waters there.
Do you know what could also be really cool? Now that I think about it,
Go on.
I'm trying to think. Like, did you hear or watch the Star Trek cartoon Lower Decks?
Nope.
So it was basically like it was like a bit of a comedy, but it was basically like what goes on in like the boring rock jobs on a Star Trek cruiser
Right. Okay. Yeah.
on the lower
Yeah. Yeah.
decks, the people who maintain the
Yep.
engine and don't go on the big adventures. What about something that kind of idea in like the city of Wakanda, like an animated Wakandan police sitcom?
Yeah. I mean, you've got all the different tribes, so like you could
Yeah,
easily just follow one of the other ones.
there is something to be done there. It gives a brilliant opportunity to tell more black stories
Yeah.
and gives us more insight into Wakanda. You can have a lot of fun with it. You can make it funny. You can make it serious. You can do whatever you want with it. But there's lots to be done there, and I think building out the world a little bit away from just superhero stuff can be very good.
Also, maybe like kind of keeping on that idea of doing it as something that's not necessarily like the big superheroes focused. You could bring back not exactly like Agents of Shield, but some sort of Shield based
Absolutely.
showing like what they're getting up to, going to like the random anomalies and having to like investigate what the heck's happened and find out, oh, it's another hero, right? Categorize them. Like you could have a bit of fun there.
The only other thing I kind of had, but I wasn't going to mention because it already exists, is Marvel What If, but done properly,
Yeah.
more like Marvel
Which we said.
Star Wars Visions that
Yeah.
really allow
Well,
What If to just be like
oh,
different
well,
styles, random stories every week.
if they want to keep What If as it is, like give us a Marvel Visions.
Yeah,
Like also that would also be a solid idea for the animated.
but just like I don't know, but like just a claymation Wolverine is
Aardman.
speaking to me. Yeah, I I need it. I need it bad.
Yeah, that would be good.
Or like a proper anime style Blade episode. It'd be so good.
Ooh.
It'd be so good. Tell me about a film you'd like to see, Harry.
Ooh, okay. I have
This is
one.
probably the most difficult one.
Yeah, it really is because there's a lot of ones that we've been wanting that we now know are coming, like the X-Men stuff and Fantastic Four. For a long time, we didn't know, and now
Yeah.
I have a couple. One
Okay.
is like the goes with somewhat of the rumors of maybe a new direction, and
Okay.
another is a bit more obscure. Would give them a new area to kind of explore in cinematic.
Mhm.
So the one that is probably more potential, I would love a Doctor Doom film, and that is
Doctor Doom
obviously
film.
with the hopes that we go in this direction eventually of having Doctor Doom. If they pivot, who knows? They might still stay with Kang. We don't know yet. But like Doctor Doom, it would make sense that we're probably going to get something with him. But I just want to know it's confirmed.
A film of him as like the ruler of Latveria doing his thing, and obviously he's got his own internal struggle or whatever, could work.
I think it'd also be really cool to like almost show us like if he has been behind the scenes pulling strings, like showing how he's
Mhm.
got away with like not being found out, him keeping up with what's going on in the world. Like you could easily have it show him like how he's seen these different Avenger level things have gone on, and he's kind of stayed back and played evil
Yeah,
villain.
I agree.
Go on, give us your
Um,
cinematic wish.
okay, it's a rogue shout.
Okay.
And it very much leans on my recent ramblings about wanting like comic book films to be a bit camp and out there again.
Okay.
The connoisseurs amongst us will remember a certain cartoon called Hulk and the Agents of Smash, which was a Hulk cartoon with like Hulk supporting characters. So it was like Hulk, She-Hulk, Atom, stuff like that.
Okay.
I want a film along that same kind of line. Give me a Hulk family film.
Do you know what?
We've got Smart Hulk now, or sorry, Professor Hulk. It kind of works. You
Yeah.
can have a little bit more story going on. We've got She Hulk. I adore She Hulk. If you hated it, fuck you. You have no taste.
We know
we've got
Abomination's
potential.
like in this weird, not full
Abomination's
evil or
on this
anything.
like kind of
Redemp.
on his kind of like redemption arc. We know the leader is making an appearance in Captain America 4.
There's Hulk's son.
Yeah, we've got him. Red Hulk is rumored to be making an
I
appearance.
did. Do you know what's
these
funny?
characters are here. Let's do
Because
something.
I love Hulk as a character. I haven't got it down because I was like, there's not necessarily enough there. But I was nearly going to mention it for TV, having some sort of like Hulk squad.
A
But yeah,
lot of the characters are here but dotted around.
yeah,
Let's bring
having
them
like a
together.
Hulk smash, that could be cool.
Yes, absolutely. We've got the characters. Just get them in a room together and just let the good times roll. Because also they're big dudes who can beat the shit out of each other without hurting each other, which means you can have some like, hey, fuck you, buddy, no, fuck you, buddy, where they kind of go at it a bit.
Yeah.
And it gives some opportunities. Especially with Abomination and She-Hulk being less experienced heroes, it gives you the chance to really like show them making mistakes, and Mark Ruffalo's Hulk gets to be a leader, which could be very, very entertaining.
I have my other cinematic, which I said was a bit more, gives them the opportunity to expand kind of their style.
Yeah.
Something we got, I don't know if it was a year or two ago now, on Disney Plus, was something called Werewolf by Night.
Yes.
Which we loved. And it seemingly was MCU canon.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know if we were 100% certain on that, but
we believe it is MCU canon.
It opened the world to this more like horror-esque style. This idea of there are the hunters, the bloodstone, that whole like stuff that's going on there with that. Obviously, we're getting the Blade film, so we know vampires are going to finally be brought in.
Yeah.
A film that goes into this realm and they make it more horror-esque, and maybe it focuses on the bloodstone, and the reason we've not seen these like werewolves and vampires and stuff is because these guys have been hunting them and keeping them down, so the MCU's not noticed it. I
imagine that's where the Midnight Suns is probably going to take
probably
us. But yeah, I'm not against that. There's definitely some room there.
Yeah.
I think they need to move away from the MCU being viewed as a genre itself.
Yes.
And explore different genres within the MCU. My other shout, which has now kind of escaped me slightly. Oh no, I remember. I know we've got X-Men films coming.
Yes.
Give me a Gambit solo film before he joins the X-Men.
Okay.
Have a slightly emptier roster for the first X-Men film.
Yep.
Give us a solo film with Gambit, still being a little bit scummy and a bit criminally. So that we get to see him a little bit naughty. So that the redemption of him becoming a better person in the second X-Men film hits like crack.
Yeah, I like that.
Plus, exploding stuff needs more than just like 1/7 of the main cast. I'm on my Gambit arc. I need a full Gambit film.
I like the idea of having some of the X-Men characters not being there for like the first X-Men film, and it is, or even the first few X-Men world films are sort of how the Avengers one started, where we got a few characters and it all was like ending with, you could have Professor X at the end of each one, finds them, recruits them, and we know that there's this X-Men squad building.
So there is a large rumor that we're not hearing too much about the X-Men film we know is in development, is because they don't want to move it too fast because leaks will happen. And the rumor is that the X-Men film is taking place after the soft reboot that's coming, which would give them the perfect opportunity to potentially have the first X-Men film be like the original X-Men with just Beast, Jean, Cyclops, Angel, and Iceman. And then we get to have Wolverine, Storm, Gambit, Rogue solo films before they then create what's seen as the more iconic X-Men lineup.
Yeah, potentially.
So there is a chance that we do get to explore that. I understand that the X-Men together are the draw, but a lot of the big name X-Men characters have such large fan bases
Hmm.
that you will still sell tickets to see
Oh
them
yeah.
get their own time to shine.
Oh yeah. For sure.
Talk to me about Spotlight project, you want, Harry?
So this was a tough one because as we obviously talked previously, Spotlight is for stuff that isn't necessarily important, but kind of
Yes.
explores these side characters or side stories going on. And trying to think of like stuff that's come out, so people maybe that we've already been introduced to, but aren't necessarily going to be important was tough because there's a lot that I'm like, oh, oh no, that would be a TV project because they are a bigger character or anything. But I got it down to one, which I think actually is quite a good shout. We got introduced to this person in Captain America and Winter Soldier.
Okay.
We don't know much about them or what they've been up to. And that person is Power Broker.
Oh, okay.
And having, I think, a little short spotlight show on Power Broker showing what that side of like what they do and that world that they run also allows you to throw in the odd little cameo of characters that wouldn't ever get to see the light of day probably in the MCU, but also kind of explains sort of how that is important because obviously we got introduced to them. We didn't know anything about it before Captain America Winter Soldier. They're obviously there playing a part in things, but they kind of need to explore it a little bit, but it's not important to explore it, if that makes sense.
I guess, I mean, we knew Sharon back from the Winter
Yeah.
Soldier. So I guess something to kind of fill in that gap of what happened during the blip that led to her becoming
Yeah.
kind of evil would be interesting. I'm not against it.
What's your spotlight pick?
So it's a bit techy.
Okay. It's Iron Man.
Yes. No. For my spotlight, I'm kind of finding myself stealing an idea I've already given for animation, but in a couple of different ways.
Okay.
So, I said about for animation, you could do like a Wakanda
Mm-hmm.
ground level kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You could take that same kind of idea and do it at Spotlight and just like, right,
Yeah.
what is going on in Wakanda? What is going on in Atlantis? What is going
Yeah.
on for Kate Bishop or anyone else they want to bring into the Young Avengers team?
Yeah.
And these will be stories that give you more character, but don't matter for the larger story. You could do 6 episodes of Kate Bishop just becoming a better hero and dealing with very local, low-level crime
Yeah.
that means nothing, but we get more Kate Bishop.
That's
Like,
not a bad
so
show.
easily. It's like if you look at what they did with Echo, which I think is the perfect example of what Spotlight
Yeah.
should be, that I feel like that would be really good. What has Kate been doing in between the end of the Hawkeye show and Captain Marvel, or sorry, the Marvels ending with Kamala recruiting her?
Mm.
Or what's happened between Kamala recruiting her and Kamala going off to recruit the rest of the team?
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely something there where you could show kind of how these characters that have essentially become a hero in their very early points of like now coming to terms with, okay, I am got these things to do. Oh, I'm now being recruited. Like, how do you get to
Exactly.
there?
Just honestly, spin a wheel and
Yeah.
choose a hero that they've not really done much about who can be canonically young and just
Mm.
give us almost in as respectful a way as possible to the other characters, give us almost a Spider-Man-esque story. But obviously they're not going to do it with Spider-Man, of just a
Yeah.
hero being a bumbling idiot when they're young, but trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. I'm not
Because they're
against it.
going to introduce us to heroes who already have a bit of experience. No one's going to care if you can actually see that experience.
Yeah, true. Like, it's trying to flesh them out more, but obviously not tell an important part of their story. But there's
Exactly.
plenty you can do with that.
Absolutely.
What's your TV picks? Or pick? Or
I think I struggled more with television than studios, even though studios should have been harder because we know so much of what they're planning.
no, I get what you mean. There was a lot of things I'm like, that could be a film though.
I find myself once again trying to use television as the catalyst of we need them to start exploring more genres. So I'm not sure if
Yeah.
anyone's aware, but DC did a sitcom set in the DCEU called Depowered or Unpowered or something. And it was
Okay.
just about regular people living in the DCEU world in an office while superheroes exist. I'm not saying I want that, because I think that's a bit too meta almost.
Yeah.
But give us something that's more comedic in style. Like they're planning on doing a Star-Lord film, continuing off of where Guardians 3 ended. Give us a 6-episode kind of funny show where Star-Lord's just trying to work out what he missed on Earth.
Yeah.
Like Chris Pratt has comedic acting chops. We know
True.
that. That's
Yeah.
how he got famous.
Yeah.
Give us 6 episodes of him arriving back on Earth and him trying to sort out a driver's license, getting his like GED from high school, trying to get a social security number or find his social security number, trying to get a job.
Yeah, no, like look at how well Loki did as a TV series. Like it was the perfect way to tell essentially the end of his story. To tell like the next part of Star Wars story, like you say, you could have a lot of fun with making it like a comedic show.
Absolutely.
The idea of him like learning to drive or something.
Exactly. I'm right there with you on that. I'd like to see more horror stuff. I would love to see something in that world. I don't know quite what we've got, but there's got to be something we can do. Maybe a TV show to introduce us to Ghost Rider.
So you've just stole my idea.
Oh no.
No, it's fine because I have a couple that sort of both lean into that. Like again, I was thinking like, how can we get some more of like the Werewolf by Night vibe in, because we enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, we've got Blade coming, and yes, it's been like up and down, and we don't know what the story's going to be like, but we're presuming it's going to be a great film. We also know from Eternals that I forget the character's name, but he is essentially the Black Knight.
Yeah, Kit Harington's character.
Kit Harington's character. I would love. Maybe this has to come out after the Blade film. Maybe some of this will get explained in the Blade film. Either a Black Knight show showing maybe him finding out more about what like the fuck he is and what he's meant to be doing. Unlearn. Maybe it's him going out to find more about what is this heritage that he's now tied into and learning from Blade. Or I also had a Ghost Rider, because we know we're getting the Midnight Suns and Ghost Rider. We're presuming we're going to get Ghost Rider in that. Having a Ghost Rider show, also a great way to introduce that character, help set up Midnight Suns. And again, maybe we'll see some of this in the Blade film or mention of it. We don't know. But like those two characters, I think, are characters we're presuming are coming, more of them anyway, or Ghost Rider, but we don't know yet. So TV would be a good place for them, maybe.
I don't know if this next idea would be better as like a spotlight or a television idea.
Okay.
But expanding on what you just said for both them characters, because they're both like legacy characters inherently. Like the versions we get might be the most famous version, but like the whole idea is these roles have existed for a long time. You could do like a 6-episode for each anthology series where you follow one from earlier in history.
Yeah.
You go and see the Ghost Rider from when America was first colonized, and maybe a Ghost Rider from before that, before when it was just Native Americans, a Native American Ghost Rider. One from like during the World Wars, one during the Great Depression, one during the 60s, something like that. And then the same with the Black Knight.
Yeah.
That could also be a really cool thing. I think that would probably sit more under spotlight than television.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
But just give us new stuff. Let creative people be creative. Marvel exists because for the longest time, comic book writers didn't really have much oversight. They were allowed to get a bit wacky and weird and try stuff.
Mm.
And we're taking this medium and we're trying to force it through a Hollywood box into films. And yes, it worked for a while. It got people interested, but people are losing interest a little bit anyway. Let's
Yeah.
try some stuff. If anything, animation has proved over the last 2 or 3 years, people want to see new stuff being tried. Let's do it.
I know people are enjoying them being a bit more creative with stuff.
Yeah.
Because
I
like
mean,
even
we've all seen.
go on.
Go on.
No, you.
We've all seen the meme of like the challenges bit where Zendaya is being kissed by both the guys, and it's been like edited into Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Wolverine. Fuck it, give us a rom-com that is about that love triangle.
Yeah.
I don't care. Get fucking weird with it. I'm gonna turn up and watch it anyway. So try something. You might end up making the greatest film ever.
Do you know what? Going back to your idea of something like you said, the Star Trek like lower decks, like the normal people. They also DC did that one where it was just everyday people or whatever. It's a bit meta, but it's always memed of like the destruction that happens after Avenger level events. Give us like a show where it's like a construction crew on like cleanup.
They tried to do that and then they
did they?
backed out of it. So if we cast our back mind to Spider-Man: Homecoming,
Yes.
you had obviously Vulture was clearing stuff up, and then
Yes.
Tony started the company. What was it called? Marvel City Recovery Team. Recovery Team. What are they called?
Oh God, I don't remember this.
Damage Control.
Okay.
So in the film, Tony creates Damage Control, and they're basically like a charity essentially that Tony starts to cover up for the Avengers fuck up, and they turn up and they fix everything, and that is what then turned the Vulture into a criminal who stole technology and sold it to make sure his family didn't go broke.
Yeah.
They were planning on doing a sitcom literally based around that.
Oh, they should have done. It would have been great.
And they just backed out of it.
Just like the idea of like rocking up and being like, right, well, Hulk impacted the side of this building, so it's structurally not sound anymore.
The thing was, obviously, it was like near the height of the MCU, so people were just loving every idea that got thrown out there. But they literally went where damage control is being worked on internally, and people like, wait, tell us more. And they're like, we're thinking it's going to be a sitcom, kind of workplace 25-30-minute sitcom. And everyone was like, fuck yes.
You could have such like you say, they could be in an office. You could have that sitcom fun like office thing, and it's like, all right, what's today's call out? Oh, I don't know. Hulk plowed through a building, so we've got to go deal with it. Or so and so flipped a fucking. Oh, Doctor Strange opened a portal and it didn't close properly.
Yeah, there are so many opportunities for different genres outside of what is just seen as generic comic book movie genre. These characters they have so much depth. They have decades of stories behind them, and they are not all the same story. They try and play with so many different ideas. Have some fun with it. These characters are so rich and ready to be like explored. We need to allow the writers to have some fun with it. Give us your sitcoms, give us your rom-coms, give us your horror flicks, give us a slasher flick where it's like someone's on a serial killing spree, and similar to how that Echo fight was like Daredevil was like on the antagonistic side. Give us a serial killer who's being hunted down by one like the Punisher or something.
That would be cool.
I want at E23 or whatever the next thing when they're going to announce stuff is, them to announce we're going to try and fuck up some shit. If you like what we've done, our films aren't really changing, but on TV, spotlight, animation, we're going to try some weird stuff.
I really do hope they do try some new stuff. The only little bit of me that is worried is we know they're scaling back, so they might not feel they have the bandwidth to add in like many things that can try something new.
in all fairness, with what we've seen of Fantastic Four, in the sense of the image they're trying to portray of what they're
Yes.
working on, the talking if it's all going to be in IMAX, the cast they've put together,
Hmm.
it might just be they're going, no, we're not going to mess with stuff. We're just going to do it even better.
Mm.
Maybe that works, and we're like, you know what? That's why you guys make all the money.
Yeah, maybe.
Just do that. But as I sit here right now, if they announce that they're doing, I mean, they're already dipping their toe. That's the thing. We know Blade's going to be scarier.
Well, yeah.
Deadpool and Wolverine has been described as like a buddy road trip film in
Yeah.
places. So they're like dipping their toe a little bit. I want them to go fucking whole hog at one of these.
Yeah. I would just need something that really stands out.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't want this to come across as us being negative about what Marvel are doing.
Oh no.
It's more a case of we love what they've done, and we know how talented, creative people are, and we want to let them cook.
Well, yeah, this is coming from the animation side has been doing this, and we just want to see that spread to the rest of it. Especially now they've got all these different brands and areas. It's like just let it go into these places as well.
Absolutely. But that is the Marvel branding and what we want to see from it.
Yeah.
Oh, I've gone back to the wrong place. There we go. Nerd News Network.
It is time for some news.
We've got such a weird batch of news this week.
You're just a bit all over.
Curiously weird batch of news. So, first and foremost, Percy Jackson Season 2 is due to start filming in August and expected to continue filming through till early 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is only so fast things can happen.
Yep.
It's kind of scary, though, when your entire cast of actors are, like, in the middle of puberty. Like, over the course of Season 1, you can see the height difference change between Percy and Annabeth as it is. What you don't want is him to all of a sudden grow a beard and his voice drop 2 octaves.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there's nothing you can do to get around it.
Yeah. Well,
but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I feel like for the Percy Jackson, like obviously they need to be kind of on it with season after season. And like this is obviously a very different show, but Stranger Things started off as them as young kids. They had to tie the story into time hopping because they spent so long between that the actors got older and they had to like keep it making sense. You can't really do that with the Percy Jackson show because it's a continuous book story.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Damon Lindelof, who was a writer on Lost and HBO's Watchmen, as well as Chris Mundy, who wrote Netflix's Ozark, which I've heard very good things about, although I haven't seen it, are apparently set to be writing DC's Lanterns series, according to WGA listings. The Lanterns series has been reported to be a similar kind of style show to that of True Detective.
Okay.
I like the Lanterns. It really sucks that Ryan Reynolds' God Awful Green Lantern movie did so much damage to the Lanterns' ability to get funding for TV and film. Hopefully this recovers that identity a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it can't get any worse, so...
Yeah, but the Green Lantern fiasco is what made me so worried about the Flash film, because it feels like, as a result of that, anyone who's not Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, if they have a really bad film, it hurts their ability to get another film or TV show for a long time.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
And that is the problem. Anthony Starr, who famously plays Homelander in The Boys, has said in an interview that fans who are idolizing Homelander are, quote, missing the point. So, as we've been saying for literally years, yes, The Boys does poke fun at both the left and the right at times. The difference is the left know when they're being made fun of in media, and the right don't. Do you know how
Mm.
batshit crazy you have to be for the actor playing the bad guy to come out and go, "You guys are misunderstanding the situation"?
Do you know what worries me? Is this obviously he's got to have like got wind of people are like idolizing Homelander. And it worries me that maybe like at Comic Cons and stuff, if he's been there doing signings, people are coming up like, oh my God, Homelander
So
just
based.
yeah, he knows that so true. Everything he stands for, love him. I would love to be home. And he's like, okay. And it's just happened too often. He's like, hang on, do people not realize that Homelander's bad?
You know what it is? It's the famous Martin Scorsese quote from the red carpet of Wolf of Wall Street. There was a really young person who was on the red carpet, like an interview or something. He's like, "Does your generation understand this is like it's a forewarning of like don't trust the rich. Like it's a warning message. It's not something to strive for." And at the same time, you still see even to this day, people are like, "Oh, I want to be the Wolf of Wall Street," and it's like, did you miss the part where he was a huge piece of shit?
Yeah.
So what do you mean?
Yeah. It's worrying. But I mean,
I'm going to say the same thing I've said about media and video games and music forever. These things do not create more bad people or let them bad people feel more like they can be bad people. It simply allows the bad people to out themselves.
yeah. Do you know what? It doesn't surprise me that people have latched onto Homelander because Trump
Yeah.
exists. And while not to the extreme of Homelander, he's like Homelander's like the next step up. So
Yeah. Homelander and Trump are the same person if Trump all of a sudden got superpowers. You cannot
yeah,
convince me otherwise.
yeah, it's
We have the
worrying.
best superpowers in the world. Anyway, Giancarlo Esposito is set to make his MCU debut as his mysterious character in Captain America Brave New World. He's been described as an antagonist. So he will be a villain once again. Or at least
Yeah.
he won't be aligned with Captain America.
I think unfortunately my hope last week that he might be Professor X is now completely scrapped out. There's no chance now.
So alongside rumours that Norman Osborn's Green Goblin might not be done in the MCU, a lot of people are going, Norman Osborn? Pause. He's a very popular fan cast for Norman Osborn, so him saying it's not someone fans have speculated makes me doubt this slightly. But I don't know if it's a popular one in the sense of in the real tight circles it's a popular one, but not a widespread popular one, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I have a couple of ideas I was thinking about now we know it's going to be in Captain America's Brave New World. One, still holding out hope on this Doctor Doom. We talked about back in Winter Soldier, Captain America and Winter Soldier, there was like these, we were like, you made the petition, what if this is all just like Doctor Doom pulling strings? We were getting like the power broker and there was all these different things going on. What if we are going to get Doctor Doom? What if it's in this? What if he plays that? Another that I had after watching X-Men 97, knowing we're going to be getting X-Men, the title being Brave New World, how would they maybe tie in mutants? It's obviously government related. We know that. It's focused around what the government's up to. What if it's Bolivar Trask? And what if it's like hinting at this idea that they know about mutants and they're starting to feel the need to have a department going on?
I will tell you something right now. I don't think they'll do it.
Probably not.
He has definitely been given a big role. You don't get an actor like that and give them a tiny role. If he is just like some unnamed scientist, the internet is not going to stop coming up with theories. And that, I think, is the best thing they can do. The problem is he's already been described as an antagonist, which must mean he has at least a notable role. You can't have him just be an unnamed scientist.
You could. It could be like he isn't named, or we don't get to know his name, but he is shown being like this scientist that is pushing this idea of something negative.
I think the Norman Osborn angle can work. Norman Osborn angle can work. Bearing in mind that he's also like a weapons manufacturer.
Yeah.
Him being there trying to sell the government on like just big old bombs, while Captain America's like, no, we can deal with this diplomatically, would be the perfect introduction to Norman Osborn. He gets permission to go and try and recreate the super soldier serum, which is how he accidentally creates the goblin formula, which turns him batshit crazy. I'm not saying I think that's what's going to happen. I'm definitely saying I can see how it would happen.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some element of like someone, he's going to be playing a character that is the government is looking at, and he's trying to be like, look, I've got this new, we should be focused on trying to prevent this thing. Well, Captain America's like, no, that's not how you should handle that. And the government just ignores Captain America and does it anyway because it's the government.
Yeah.
So I think we're both like, there's a few different avenues this could go.
I'm also so down for him to just be like a character that they have created for the MCU who's never existed in the comics, and they're going to have some fun with it.
Yeah. Fair.
I don't know if this is really relevant, but I didn't want to not include it. Apparently, we're getting the first teaser for the Among Us TV series, and it's expected to be released during Summer Games Fest. Obviously, when Josh is back in a few weeks, Summer Games Fest will have happened, so he'll give us a big rundown of everything then, and maybe this will be on that list.
Possibly.
Because they've got like a really wild cast of voice actors for that.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like they've stacked the cast.
COVID did a lot of people dirty. A lot of people made a lot of money in COVID. No one has done as well from COVID other than pharmaceutical companies, as well as the Among Us devs.
And government officials.
Yeah. The Among Us devs might be the only normal people that profited major style from COVID. And the only people who profited from COVID that I don't hate. So there's that. Rumours are circulating via Screen Rant that The Boys Season 5 writers' room had already begun as recently as a month ago.
That doesn't surprise me.
So they're not trying to waste any time.
Good.
Which is interesting.
Let's be honest. There's plenty of inspirational material going on in the world at the moment.
Can we just talk about the fact that you've just gone good at the notion of them not wasting any time when you waste 3 years not watching the show?
Don't know what you mean. I was all tactical so that I had the minimum amount of wait time for season 4.
Got ya. And then Sony. Venom: The Last Dance is rumored to feature a 10-year-old Peter Parker. Oh, that is my opinion on that. You can quote me on that.
I don't know why they're doing that, because they almost
been confirmed to be the last Venom film.
Well, and the thing is like I don't know, the fact that he got to be in the MCU briefly, and it's like Sony might have actually got a way to bring it in, and then they're going to go and do this, and it's going to like Kevin's just going to be like, yeah, okay, you're done. That's not.
Just to be completely fucking clear here, what Sony have done with Venom, and like, I don't dislike the 2 Venom films; they're okay. They've taken a character who exists because of Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
They've put him in a universe without Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
They've had him fight the symbiotes that he's like related to. They then had him create Carnage, who he then killed. Then, in the 3rd and final film, they're going to introduce a 10-year-old, so like between 4 and 6 years away from becoming Spider-Man, Peter Parker. And it's already been confirmed to be the last Venom film, meaning that this Venom and Peter Parker will never ever interact or fight, meaning him and Carnage can never interact and fight. What are we doing?
They've done it backwards, is what they're doing.
What they've essentially made is just a weird, goopy alien film. And they've just used the Venom branding just because famous. May as well have just made it a brand new IP.
Yeah, it's not. It's not going to be a great end.
Should have just called it Black Sludge 1, 2, and 3. Because that's about the relevance it has to the character of Venom. Like,
Oh.
what are we doing? I don't think I'm that negative a person when it comes to comic book movies. I think overall I try and stick on the positive side. But what are we doing? Venom: The Last Dance is a shit name. Anyway, I've tried not to dwell on that too much. It's a shit name. Tom Hardy deserves better. He's done really well in these films. But what's the point?
Do
If
you know
I
what?
was Tom Hardy and I've played Venom for, by this point, like 6 or 7 years after all these films are out, and I've not got to fight Spider-Man, I'm suing Sony.
I only hope that Kevin goes, you know what? Tom Hardy did a really good job as Venom. When we finally bring Venom in, we'll give him a call.
Seen who the fan casts are for the MCU Venom?
No.
Alan Richardson, who plays Reacher, to come in as Eddie Brock.
Oh.
Which I don't hate as a casting. I think there's definitely better options, but I don't hate that.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I do just love that, because, sorry to get slightly sidetracked, Alan Richardson to me is always going to be Thad Castle from Blue Mountain State, which is a sitcom about American football players in college.
Mm.
It's a very different character. So seeing him go global superstar off the back of Reacher and now getting fan casted in major roles is really funny to me, because the character I will always know him most for is a linebacker who gets drunk and high and is dumb as bricks. And it's just really funny to me. But yeah, weird week of news.
Well, there's one other thing that isn't on there which I thought I'll mention. We've started getting some pictures from Lord of Rings of Power Season 2.
Yes.
One of a very specific character that a lot of people are excited to have, which is Tom Bombadil.
Yes.
In the big, like, red beard, blue coat.
Kind of early for him. I'm not great on my Lord of the Rings lore.
So,
is this not kind of early, or am I tripping?
Tom Bombadil was, I mean, for those that don't know, the most powerful being in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, isn't the whole thing essentially like he's, pardon the Marvel nerd here, he's kind of Loki-ish, and as a result, the ring doesn't really affect him?
Well,
because he's just kind of a tricky, slippery dude.
Yeah, this is the thing. He's tricky, but also, like, peaceful. He doesn't get involved in anything. Nothing works on him. He's more powerful than any of the evil. Like, yeah, the ring just doesn't work, but he doesn't get involved. A lot of people say he is just Tolkien self-inserted in the book. But yeah, to get him in season 2 is going to be pretty cool. Think this, I'm pretty sure it was confirmed by the end of the season 1. The wizard guy is clearly Gandalf.
Yeah, it'd be genuinely more surprising if he's not Gandalf at this
point. There's another picture where he stood next to Tom Bombadil in more of a slightly different get-up, and he looks like Gandalf straight up.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see Tom Bombadil involved. But yeah, getting very excited now for Rings of Power after seeing some pictures start to emerge.
Fair enough. That is it from us this week.
That is it for the
crazy
news,
episode. We've got a monster episode next week though. Sorry to not even let the train stop in the station for a second. We've got episode 1 of The Acolyte next week. We will have a catch-up session about Bear season 1 and 2 next week.
So, like, we haven't even talked about it this episode, but obviously long-time listeners, if you're there.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
We'll know that I watched The Bear, like, way back, loved it, was telling Connor about it, have said many times that he needs to watch it eventually.
I was getting my boys' revenge and my invincible revenge.
It's fine. He's watched, you finished season 1? You finished, damn. Yeah. And you were messaging, like, obviously after each episode, and I was like, the boy's hooked. The boy is hooked, and you're not even ready. I was hooked
like halfway through the first episode.
Well, I knew you would.
I see the vision.
The first episode was done so well. Everybody got hooked.
To watch. There's so
Everybody
much to
got so hooked.
watch.
Well,
But
yeah.
I was just like, this needs to wait until it makes sense. Season 3 being around the corner meant it made sense. And then
I
we're
am
like 2 weeks out from something else as well, aren't we? What else is coming out in June? Another TV show starting in June.
Boys.
Yeah, The Boys. So we'll have like next week will be preview of The Boys, Acolyte, Bear.
Yeah.
Then the week after that will be Acolyte and Bear, and probably a preview for the Bear.
Yeah, we're gonna probably start talking about the bear on this. Totally
Yeah.
not superhero related, but
Yeah, that's all one episode. That's all one weekly drop though.
Yeah.
Which means it will just be one episode where we do a mega
Yeah.
review like Fallout.
still,
Fun.
I'm so excited for you to see season 2.
Just everyone like and subscribe right now before we get sidetracked and keep talking. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Yep,
Get out
we'll
of
see you
here,
next week.
you scamps.